the NC State-Western Carolina game, which will take place a couple hundred yards right behind us, but also the UNC-Minnesota game, which is taking place across the country. Wake Forest taking on NC A&T. That's going on just a little bit away. But it is the official start of college football in the Triangle today. We're out here at Carter Finley Stadium, as I mentioned. Paul Ihander, the host of Next Up every morning here on 99.9 The Fan, is with me outside of the stadium. Graham Hill back at the studio, keeping us up and running. We will be talking with Kat Campbell from WRAL for a tailgate weather report in the not-too-distant future, but I'll give you the layman's edition of it.
Without the meteorology degree.
Yeah, exactly. She'll give us the reasons why and what you can expect in the future. I'll tell you right now, it's hot as heck out here. So if you're planning on getting out here early for the tailgate, the parking lot's opened at 2, so there's actually already quite a bit set up and people getting after it already. But if you are planning on tailgating and you haven't come out yet, throw a little bit of extra ice in the cooler, maybe bring another 6-pack, something to cool you down, because
16.
There you go, 30 pack, because you're gonna want a little extra hydration today. It's a hot one, and for the players, right? As we get the first look at an NC State team that is very, very highly anticipated, they better be staying off their feet and hydrating as well, because you hope. A lot of big plays. You hope a lot of shots downfield for some of these explosive playmakers. Today is finally, I feel like we've been talking about the newcomers at NC State for so long. We finally get to see kind of what I call a fastball look, like an actual game rep from Noah Rogers, a former 5-star from North Carolina that spent a year at Ohio State before transferring back home.
Rollsville, just up the road.
He's back home, but feels like forever since he's been making headlines in the state of North Carolina. First time we get to see Justin Jolie, who I think is one of the more underrated newcomers in the entire Atlantic Coast Conference, a tight end coming over from UConn. The stat I love citing is he was number 1 amongst all tight ends in the entire country in forced broken tackles. So, sounds like somebody that might do really well in an ACC environment, especially when Casey Concepcion's on one side, Noah Rogers is on the other, a Dakari Collins or a Wesley Grimes or a Jonathon Paylor or a Terrell Anderson. So many of these newcomers and weapons for NC State are drawing attention. Sometimes Grayson McCall is going to just say, I like the big, tall, strong, fast guy over the middle with the wide catch radius. He'll break tackles and make me look good.
Well, and that's the thing. And we saw SMU Nevada, right? SMU, who took on Nevada this past in the week 0. So
big ACC win.
Right. And they have a big ACC tight end in Maryland. And so you look at a guy like that and you look at Jolie, and you're right. We've been talking about this team. It seems like forever ago. And let's be honest, the state spring game got overshadowed by the NC State Final Four run. It happened to be those same days. So the focus on football wasn't even there. And it feels like so long ago when I got to see Noah Rogers on the television broadcast saying, it's great to be home. It's great to be here. Caught a couple of great balls from Grayson McCall. Oh, by the way, we're playing basketball. Now that spotlight is completely flipped. And now we actually get to focus on the football and all these transfers and a half team turnover really on offense when it comes to starters, Tim.
What a first world problem. That is, my private jet takes too long to gas up. Nobody was focusing on our brand new 5-star wide receiver because our basketball team was in the Final Four the same day. Is an embarrassment of riches. But also, that's part of the story of this NC State season. The basketball team, both men's and women's, make the Final Four. They pass the torch to the baseball team. They make it all the way to Omaha. They pass the torch to football and say, oh, by the way, here's 3 months of summer to just build up expectations. We're going to talk about this throughout the show. By the way, check out the Pack Therapy podcast I host with Mike Lennon. We did an experiment where we tried to fill in this blank or bust for NC State. And 2 episodes ago, Mike said 9 wins, right? 9 wins. It would be the most Dave Dorn has ever got, tied for. It would be the second most in program history for NC State. 9 wins, and it's a solid season. Anything more, you're getting excited. And when I tell you the fan base did not like that answer, the comments were, anything less than an ACC championship game appearance is a failure. The response was, anything less than 10 wins is an utter disappointment. And on and on and on. There was plenty of that. And that's just kind of what NC State is dealing with right now. right? You had a team that was down 12 to Louisville in the first round of the ACC basketball tournament. They made it to the Final Four. Expectations are lofty, whether the probability or not of something happening is true. This NC State football team brings so many good players to the season this year that expectations are rightfully high. You throw in a little bit of the sizzle that State's had the last 7, 8, 9 months. It's gasoline to the fire. These expectations are pretty high.
Tim, it's interesting you bring that up and you talk about expectations and that 9-win plateau, glass ceiling, whatever you want to call it, the breakthrough that Dave Dorn needs to have. The Athletic put out its kind of like hope-ometer, so to speak, of all the major conferences and all the major teams. And we can dig into this throughout the show here because we got lots of time in the heat. The
pressure cooker, if you will.
Right. And when they surveyed the fans across the country, and there's a lot of hope in a lot of cases, and even the successful teams had their doubters, right? The Oregons and the Oregon States. But when it came to State fans, it was straight across the board, 100%. We demand nothing less than perfection this season when it came to this team. To reach the 12-team CFP, to advance as far as we possibly can. That losses to Carolina, unacceptable, clearly. Early season losses to Tennessee, quit talking about that already.
Yep.
That's not even in our vocabulary. It's not even in our range. We're going to roll through people, steamroll people, and it feels like there has been that energy around this fan base. And again, hope, though, Tim, is a very dangerous mistress.
Part of it, and this is very new to college football, is it's almost baseball team-like. And what I mean by that is like Major League Baseball team-like, because this offseason they spent a bunch of cash. Right, the NIL collectives came through.
Yep, they're parked right over there, as a matter of fact.
And they would love for you to stop by, and don't forget your pocketbook when you do. That's just the way college football is now. But when you look at it, I have the list of transfers here. When you get one of the top wide receivers, one of the top running backs, another one of the top young running backs, maybe the top tight end, another solid wide receiver, one of the top quarterbacks, and a 2-year starter from Notre Dame on the offensive line, all out of the transfer portal and onto your roster. That's no longer just, they're all bought into the program. That's also, they're all bought into the program and your supporters were able to reach whatever their bottom line was to attend. That's just, again, the way college football is. So I think there's a part of, we spent all this money, let's see the wins, right? We spent all this money, let's see the product. The reason why I say it's baseball-like is because baseball with that fake salary cap that you can just spend as much as you want. There's a lot of owners out there that are like, all right, put $300 million on the field. I want to see some wins. Obviously, it's not $300 million, but it's a lot of money, and now it's time to make good on it.